Road Show, episode number 149. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee is with me, and we are in beautiful, tropical, we're
Wah, wah, wah.
we're home in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We're actually at the
Which is fine and
which
great.
The Casa de yeah, we
It's
shouldn't
great to be in
complain
Vegas.
about
I
being
mean,
in Las
like-
Vegas. And, dude, I mean, it's February 1st right now, and we got the windows open.
It's unreal.
I'm sitting in shorts, although that doesn't really describe the weather very
I was gonna
much.
say, you wore shorts in South Korea when it was absolutely cold.
snow
It's 69 degrees right now. We had a
Oh.
high of 73 today.
Dude, this was literally the mildest winter we've ever had. I mean, I've been here a
Unreal.
decade. I think it was the mildest winter we had.
Doesn't even feel like we're in winter.
Loved it, man. February 1st, 70 degrees. So, yes, nothing wrong with being in Las Vegas. Nothing wrong with being at the Casa de Cold Coffee. A fine host here as we sit in your studio. But, yeah, to be
It's
honest,
not the same.
we would have liked to have been in Belém, Brazil this week. But I guess we should just address it right up front, right? MMA Junkie will not have any on-site representation in Belém, Brazil, or in Perth, Australia next week. And listen, I mean, it's disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. I get it. I mean, I've said in the budget meetings, man. I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that journalism is facing cutbacks across the board, across the entire industry. And our bosses at USA Today said, listen, you know, at least for these two fights that are in pretty damn far-flung locales that aren't necessarily the most compelling top-to-bottom events that we have. Let's sit this out. Let's reevaluate afterwards, and let's make some decisions. We're told that this is a test of sorts, if you will. That it's not necessarily indicative of we're done going to international events or anything like that. But yeah, it still stings a little bit. I love being on site, man, providing that on site coverage for everybody. But the truth of the matter is, man, it's not cheap to fly to those destinations, and our bosses are saying, listen. We got to take a hard look at the numbers and scale back a little bit. So, bummed, but I guess it's the reality of where we live these days.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it feels like an end of an era, in a sense, like, we don't miss shows. And that's what I think people have come to realize, that they know that they can go to Junkie to get the content, and I hate to feel that we're taking that guarantee away from them. I mean, of course, we're still going to be covering as best we can from stateside,
right.
But it's, to not have those interviews on the ground, to not be there, to be able to get the sense of how it feels to be on the ground, how the crowd's taking it, how the fighters are actually doing it, because we know that, the UFC has been pulling further and further back from actually covering the media events and things that they put on that we would normally cover.
Right.
So, we're not going to get that sort of stuff. And everything that we do get from the UFC, it's all going to be through rose-colored glasses. It's all going to be from their perspective, So it sucks to not be on ground, to be able to kind of give an unbiased approach to what we're seeing there. And, it is what it is. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to doing normal things and doing the stuff, because I'd hate to feel that we'd lose that trust that people have put in MMA Junkie for being there to kind of give them that stuff, And I think, the bosses. I mean, it sucks because I believe that they're torn. They understand what we need to do and what our fans and our diehards want, but they also have to come at it with the angle that money doesn't grow on trees.
That's right.
We have to kind of be smart about how things are, and when cuts are happening all across newspaper industry. I mean,
people are losing their
people
jobs,
are
right,
losing
left,
their
man.
jobs. It's tough to kind of keep, on one end, see an outlet that's throwing, all this money into traffic, travel and all this other stuff, when you have whole outlets closing
people
down.
in our own organization are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then so they look at us and be like, oh, you're upset that you're not going to Brazil and Australia. Oh, poor you. But you're right. I'm gonna hopefully again we can get out of this, because I do love. Hey man, you can sense how so and so is feeling this week. I've been around them, and here's how they're acting. Or here, I miss those insights that we're not going to have this week. You know what I mean? We're still going to talk about the card, and we're still going to talk about our thoughts on it. But I'm going to miss those little observations of, man, who was struggling in the hallway with their weight cut, or you know who's walking around with a little bit more swagger than they normally do. You know what I mean? Like, you could feel that stuff on fight week. So
and even the fact of, especially even in a situation with Brazil, that's going to be a little bit different than Australia, even though their sense of English is very different from ours, is the fact that the English-speaking fighters, when they see English-speaking media,
They light up.
They light up. That's it. I mean, like it's tough. I mean, I think one for them. Anytime you have to listen to questions in a foreign language, it gets translated. You know, they're not recognizing the media people. You know, so the fighters are a little bit shut down. You know, that's why when as an inside staffer before, you know, I'd see him kind of open up and be like, "Oh, okay, great, English,
A familiar
and
face,
I recognize
a familiar
you. I
language.
recognize you." You know, and then I'd get a good interview out of it. You know, so there's going to be that point where a lot of these English fighters that are used to us being there to give them a chance to talk about how excited they are to be there. You know, we brought the stuff that they were able to give us. We brought that home to their families. You know, we brought that home to their friends to watch and see. And you know, and it's unfortunate. And I feel bad that we're not there to be able to kind of do that for those guys. You know, because you know, as much as it is great, you know, and I'm not going to lie about being able to be in a country. You know, I love travel. It's one of the things that brought me to the UFC in the first place, and it's one of the things that kept me with junkies. The fact that, you know, we're able to go to these wonderful places to do the job that we do, but there is a, you know, a responsibility that while we're there and while we're doing this, these fighters look to us to kind of help, you know, get that word out there. You know, whether there's times that we share stuff that maybe they don't want us to see, but they're also happy when they're in their proudest moments. They're here. They're nervous. They're in these foreign countries. They're in foreign territory. It can be very unnerving for them. So seeing a familiar face, speaking language that is your own, you know, talking and reminiscing about, you know, all the other things loosens these fighters up, and that's why we're able to get good shit from these guys when we're there, you know.
I agree.
So, you know, it sucks that we're not able to kind of be able to bring this content back for our readers, but also I feel like we're kind of letting the fighters down, because normally we would be there to kind of be like, all right, you know, tell us what you're going through. And they're like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going through, you know, and we take that and we bring it back to our fans, but we bring it to their families. We bring it, I mean, you get the retweets from the guys. They're like, oh, hey, family, look at this, you know, and they get to share the stuff. And if these are guys that aren't the big guys that aren't maybe in a media event or something like that, the only time people are going to even know that they're there is on fight night when they're able to maybe catch their thing, you know. And I just feel bad that we're not able to kind of do what we normally do, and it's part of those things that why we are able to build relationships with these fighters. That's some of the things that we've, you know, talked with, you know, the powers that be. You know, you can't put a money value on some of the relationships that you gain with these guys on some of these, you know, fight night cards by being there when nobody else is there. They never forget those moments, you know, especially, like I said, in these moments where they, without talking to their coaches, they could literally go 3/4 of the day without speaking English to anybody else, you know, and it's very unnerving for them. So I don't know. It just sucks to not be able to bring all the content that we would, but also, you know, these are great things for us for future, because when we see these guys for years and years beyond, they never forget their first event in Brazil or wherever it is,
and
they
become
remember
a part of that story.
That's it. They remember it.
I feel like every fight week is a story, man, from start to finish. You know what I mean? It's a story that involves these 24 players, or these 26 players, and by player I mean like actor, you know, a player in there, you know, and an athlete. It's and we get to be a part of that. We get to document that. You know, it's, you know, I think the one that stands out to me most recently, like Brian Ortega, you know, his breakout performance, and there was no media there, but we were there and we were able to document, you know, him playing dominoes all week in the hotel, and, you know, just little details like that. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, I'm bummed. I don't want to be too negative or whatever, because again, I get it, man. Dollars and cents. At the end of the day, we are a business, man. We gotta make money. You know what I mean? The USA Today is not in the business of charity, man. They're not just giving away free content to MMA fans in the hopes of making the world a better place. You know what I mean?
And especially like the Super Bowl's going on now, they're spending a lot of money, you know, to cover that as well, which is a huge thing. So it'd be one thing if it was only MMA was all they had to worry about. You know, it is a big company that has a lot of things going on. So I don't know. I think hopefully most listeners and viewers understand, you know, that we'll do the best we can to bring them what we can, and in fact, some of the stuff that we just got done doing before this.
We'll just tape some video stuff that we wouldn't normally get to do. So we're gonna try to play around with some of that, some analysis, some previews, some whatever. So we're not going to let the quality of coverage decline, that's for sure. And again, we're told this is not necessarily indicative of our entire future, so we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep fighting the good fight for you, I swear. So, listen, we both were on the road last week, and I did want to say, I know it's been a couple of days, and typically I don't like to be too backwards looking, but we didn't get to do a half episode because,
thank God, it was.
Well, yeah, you were exhausted, I know, but it was
so tired.
So Friday for me was Bellator, Saturday for you in the UFC. You were pulling a solo assignment, which is tough, man. It's a lot to juggle. But for me, I actually it was my wife's birthday on Saturday night as well, and I had promised her, listen, I miss a lot of important dates. I miss a lot of important things in our life, and even when I am home, a lot of times my phone's in my hand or I'm on the computer. So I said, listen, I will unplug for the night. I didn't even watch the UFC fights live. I had to go back and watch them on replay because I was at Top Golf, which is awesome. I will say that when your wife says, hey, it's my birthday, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go drink some beer and play some golf. Are you cool with that? I think
No.
what you do is you say, hey, sorry, and a half. That ain't happening, baby. We're going to drink some beer and play some golf. So we did go play at Top Golf
Cool.
with a lot of her friends.
I was gonna say, it looked
was a
like
good
she
time.
had a big old game,
Yeah, I
so
think
they
we had-
must dig that sort of thing. Or
It was cool. I think we had like
did everybody play it?
Yeah, but most of them weren't golfers. But man, we had if anybody's never been to Top Golf, it's fun, especially the one here in Las Vegas. It is money, man. The one in Vegas is 4 levels. We had like 16 people between 2 bays, and everybody was kind of having fun and just playing some golf, hitting some balls, taking turns. We weren't real competitive about it. Everybody was just kind of dicking around, having fun. But
Not even a little bit. Not even
was
like
good.
silently. You
Nah,
didn't have your own little
there weren't
thing.
really like
You weren't like me mugging
I think
somebody
me and my
silently.
wife are the most serious golfers out of the whole thing. My
Really?
wife, my wife, she used to take lessons before she got pregnant. So we're hoping that as my son gets older, that'll be something we can go do as a family again. So it was good. But listen, I did want to touch on a couple of things. First of all, bro, you killed it in Charlotte, man. You're becoming a decent little
appreciate
interviewer,
that.
man. You're becoming a
appreciate
decent little
that.
interviewer. Hopefully everybody caught that, but it feels like you're kind of coming into your own as not only just the guy behind the camera, but the dude that's got to do the interviews too.
It's funny because as many interviews as we've done together, I took a lot of notes of what I want to ask, but I had every intention of making those be short interviews. But for some reason, as things went going, I just felt like, I've always felt like I've been pretty good at like sort of connecting with the guys at a certain level.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because when you actually listen to the interviewee and some of and you pay attention, the follow-ups start to come, and the next thing you know, like the follow-up questions that come out of it prolong it a little bit more, and then you get back to the question that I had, because I had a sort of overall arc of what I was going for, what I wanted to get from
messy
and
notes,
stuff.
by the way.
Oh, dude, you should even like fight night. I don't know if you saw like you should see my fight night notes when I try to jot down notes while editing, while trying to watch a fight. It's terrible. But yeah, when I write my questions out, I'm a quick scribbler, so it's hard.
I'm the same. I like to have written notes. Some people don't need them, and it's funny because you don't necessarily need them. I like to have written notes.
It keeps me focused. So if I do go and get on a tangent, especially asking follow-ups, I can remember. I can go back to where
What
I'm
did I want to make sure I hit on?
That's it.
I carry around a legal pad just behind the scenes. If you never see, I carry around a legal pad with notes on it for all my interviews.
Yeah. But so a lot of the interviews that I had every intention of going, because they only gave me 15-minute slots.
Right.
But some of the ones I was like, holy shit, I think
And
I
you
just
gotta
took up
mic
like the
people
15.
up, and you gotta.
Yeah, so it was pretty quick, but no, it was good. I mean, it was I was more stressed out about fight night just for the fact of that when I was kind of starting to think that nobody was going to be there, and then I was like, how am I going to try to edit?
Because you were
and
backstage
shoot
by yourself
by myself.
almost the entire night,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there was a couple other guys there, but they were local, so they only wanted the local guys if they won, and none of them won.
Oof.
So they pretty much just ditched.
Which that's their. I mean,
Which
that's
is
their
fine,
deal.
I get
That's- Their boss isn't going to use anything.
Yeah, I mean, I get it completely. So.
Another reason though why I hate not being there. What if you weren't there? All those fighters that had their winning moment and then they want to go talk to the media and get their feelings out, and there's no media back there.
Right.
Ugh.
They had the whole press thing. I sent a picture. They had chairs, like they thought maybe there was going to be something there at one point. But then when the turnout was just negative, they just brought everybody back. And you want to talk about how quick bringing everybody back at the end? Like that. It was super quick because it was just me. So by the time it finished, I got Jacare before I got Derek, but Derek was able to come back, and I think part of the reason why Derek came back because the local guy wanted to get him.
Right.
But they end up bringing Derek over, and the local guy that got it because they wanted to try to make our 11 o'clock hit, and this was literally moments before. I was like, dude, there's no way you're gonna get that footage back. But they brought the guys back. But I was more stressed out about that because, you know, I don't. You know how we do it. I don't shoot the video and just sit on it. You know, I want to start processing it so that it's done. And plus, there was a tight window to get to the airport afterwards. I didn't know, you know, how long things were going to last. So I'm trying to process through the stuff. So I'm kind of side-eye watching the fights, jotting notes down on my bout sheet while trying to edit and then trying to make myself watch it because I want to at least feel like I saw some of the fight, you know. So that was a little more unnerving for me than the other one. And the only thing that was kind of rough on the beginning, the first day, was that taking the red eye in. I was
tired when
I
you
was
get there.
beat.
I don't
I think I was on like about maybe an hour total of sleep or so, and then I was just hopped up on coffee.
We've been trying to save money. So we've been taking red eyes in a lot lately, and instead of getting to the East Coast and getting a night of sleep, and then waking up, we fly in, we leave it. There's a 120 out of Las Vegas that goes to Dallas, where you can connect to pretty much anywhere in the country. I know you and I have both been on that flight a lot lately.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was rough. That was about the only part that was kind of really rough about it, but it was good. I mean, like the PR staff was great and very understanding of, me being solo, so they kind of helped out things, especially like even open workout. It was just like, set up where you want it. We got this bed up right here. What do you want to do? I was like, well, all right, I want to go do this. So
that's good.
But it was fun.
I got to ask what Bobby Green was like post-fight, because Bobby Green,
dude,
you had the pre-fight interview with Bobby Green. If anybody didn't see this, I tweeted it out afterwards too. It was hilarious because he basically, you and I typically kind of do interviews a lot the same. We'll talk on topics, we'll get them to talk about things, but at the end, you kind of need that money quote, right? You need that fight quote, and so at the end, you're like, all right, how do you think this fight's going to go? Because you're just trying to get that one that, you've given them opportunities to talk about all the things that are going on in life and where they stand, but you still need that, I'm going to fuck this guy up quote, right? I mean, that's what you need. And basically, Bobby Green busts out, I'm going to come in his face, and I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep coming. And then he catches himself. He starts to smile a little bit, and then he settles himself back down. And then at the end, he just laughs. He's like, that sounded awful. You can edit that out. And you're like, nah, bro.
He's like, nah, I'm going to keep that. And he's like, oh, great.
And it was hilarious. And I mean, listen, especially Bobby Green being the guy that he is, the personality that he is, I thought it was perfect that we just, I mean, we left it in. We could edit it out, but it's Bobby Green. It's you know what I mean? Maybe if it was somebody that was like, if they said something really embarrassing or something, maybe we'd edit it out, but that was just funny. It was like, to me, it reminded me very much of like when Dana had that quote on The Ultimate Fighter. It's like, you don't vote him off, you beat him off, and then you're like, oh, God, come on. It's funny, right? So I got to ask, he wins the fight. What does he say to you afterwards?
So first, when I knew he was coming back, I was like, oh, shit, well, we're going to see if Bobby Green was pissed at me or not.
He has a sense of humor,
And he comes in and he was like, what's up, bro? I was like, Bobby, so you got to tell me, how are people loving whatever? He's like, man, I told you, I thought you were going to cut that out. I was like, I told you I was going to leave it in. I was like, but I got to tell you. I was like, and part of it, I was like, Bobby, everybody loves the fact that, they loved it. Everybody got a good kick out. I was like, and it wasn't like people were laughing at you. I was like, it was such an honest, like, gut busting laugh that you did. People loved it, and he just started laughing. He's like, bro, I was out there walking to the cage, or when I've seen people, and people are like, bro, will you come in my face? Like, you gonna come in my face, bro? And he's just dying. So like, people are totally like, so he had fans like coming up like sort of embracing it, and his team, I can hear his team in the back just sort of chuckling and laughing. So they must have been dealing with it the whole time. But he took it like perfectly in stride, and he was just like, he just laughed about it, and he's like, bro, I got people coming all up into me, asking if I'm gonna come in their face. Shit. And I was like, Bobby, I was like, if it wasn't such a good like natural moment, then it would have felt like, all right, I need to cut. I was like, but it was so awesome seeing you just be 100% real in a moment that it was it was better
It
leaving
was.
it
It
in.
makes you laugh. It makes you smile along with
you. Just
It's
laugh
so
at it.
funny.
I mean, and it's not like you were like, oh my god, I can't. Even though
Yeah.
a couple of people were like, oh, look at this like crude comment, but I think even that was taken in with like a wink, wink, because
Right.
people are just like whatever. But no, he was completely
awesome.
fine with it. But yeah, when he told me the story that people were like, bro, you're gonna come in my face, I was like, who would even say that to somebody? It's like the weirdest thing. If they were, if somebody was like, yo, man, and actually said that they love to fuck a wet paper bag. It's easy to say like, bro, you gonna fuck a wet paper bag? But to actually bring it to yourself, I'm like, you gonna come in my face? Like, I would have feel so weird saying that to somebody,
Oh,
even
man.
though that's like the catchphrase or whatever. But he was really, really good about it. And I thought we had a really good post-fight interview too.
Great fight, man.
Yeah,
Great fight.
Oh, that was really, really good.
He's can't miss all the way around, man. I love Bobby Green. You got a chance to talk to Nico Price.
Yeah, that's
Road
another.
show
That's
favorite.
another.
That's a
another,
road show favorite right there. How's he doing?
And that's another cat that referenced our first interview from the first day. Because at the end I was like, so you're gonna stay busy? What are you gonna do? And he's like, oh, like I said in the other interview, blah blah blah. That's what I love about the fact that when we're on the ground and we do these early interviews, and when we do interviews, these guys don't forget the legwork
Right.
that you do when you go in there and you talk with them, And Nico was great afterwards. I mean, he was happy about it. It was a tough fight, and then he had that fucking amazing sort of, finish that kind of just. It was great, and and getting him to talk about it and set up, I was like, when you hit him and then you start to lock it in, did you realize he was going to rear up, and give your neck? He's like, oh yeah, and just to see the guys excited about what they were able to do, but having that relationship from just even earlier in the week, having an interview and having that moment,
It's a level of comfort.
it does,
Yeah.
and that's where it's such a good thing for being there on the ground, because you bridged a gap that wasn't there before. So
Yeah.
as an interviewer, as an outlet, anytime you get more face time, you're building bridges that you can further use, and but it's hard to put a dollar value on these.
It's such
sort
a
of
bigger
things.
discussion, man. And again, I don't want the whole show to be about this, but it is such a bigger discussion that I think people don't realize. Like this whole move on journalism to like pivot to video and all that. Like,
Yeah.
I get it, and it's true. I mean, hell, you're a videographer. I think we all agree in video. But I think what everybody is doing now is just saying, hey, you know what's easier than reporting is just like aggregating other people's reporting.
Right.
Which is easier and cheaper, but somebody's still got to do the reporting, and somebody's still got to be able to get the interviews and get the quotes that maybe, as you said, if you don't have those relationships, if you don't have that trust that they know that they're, they don't need to be defensive around you, that you're not, you know what I mean?
That's the biggest thing right there. You can't put a price on somebody being able to be open around you. I mean, like I've seen guys walk into a room where they see media and you can immediately already see this wall, this fourth wall kind of surround them, before they walk up to guys. So having a guy or a gal come in there and be able to be themselves in front of you it's amazing, and that takes a lot of time and effort that only time and effort will give you, like just saying you're from a certain outlet. Yes, that maybe helps, but until they recognize the face and they recognize that they've talked to you and they understand that you're not just trying to get a quick hit, then they're always going to be sort of guarded. But to have people let their guard down and give you I'm air quoting, free and unrestricted interview.
Yep.
I mean, and it makes the world of difference. And we're only going to get that being on the ground. We're never going to get that just retweeting some video that we saw online, or just even taking it and talking about somebody's tweet. I'm sure somebody appreciates it when an outlet takes their help spread their thing out there. But when you really talk with them, and you build that relationship, then they start saying, oh, hey, then they maybe tag you in that tweet. Maybe they have ideas and things they have for the future, hopes they want to do, and then they already think about, well, man, maybe if I have this idea to do this thing, who am I going to reach out to maybe talk to about this before I maybe do this venture, or maybe I do whatever, and you're only going to get those relationships, you're only going to get that good stuff by spending the time doing it, but Nico was great. Nico was great.
Listen, I'm still high on Nico, man. I know he suffered his first loss. He's not undefeated anymore, but Vicente Luque, the guy he lost to, is no joke either. That guy's the real deal. But I'm still high on Nico, man. I think there's still an upside to him. I like his personality. I like his game. He's somebody I still want to keep an eye on, man. He's a roadshow guy.
Yeah, he's dangerous, man. He's got skills.
A couple other guys I did want to talk to you about, and then we'll move past Charlotte. But first of all, Mirsad Bektic, man, how great does that guy look? How
Yeah.
dangerous
Wow.
is he? He's had some issues. He's had some injuries that slowed him down. But I really do feel like that guy's a future champion, if not at least a perennial contender for some time to come.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure if there were other outlying reasons as for why he wanted to switch to different camps if things weren't working, but he feels that he is in the right spot. Man, he looked dangerous. He looked good, and Pepe is a dangerous opponent.
He is.
And
he's most dangerous early. I mean, normally you
Yeah.
think, okay, listen, I got to get past the first one because his submissions are crazy. But
Yeah.
he fades. But this wasn't even a sense of him fading. This is
No.
just Bektic, going teeth into the chainsaw and just.
Yeah, and man, what a great team to be a part of. But he's so well. He's not reserved is not the right word. But he's just so well spoken. He was giving me all my questions back in his answers. He's a very good representative, but he's just got it, man. And now he's got. I mean, not that he didn't have the skills before. I just feel like he's really coming into himself, and with that particular performance, and he speaks the right speak. I mean, he talks the talk. Now he's backing up even better. Now he's got a great team. He feels that he's in a place where I think he feels. I don't want to say feels wanted, but he feels that he fits really, really well. So I think a guy that feels that he's in his element and he's got a great team behind him, talking all the talk. I mean, he's got everything going for him to shoot to the top.
He turns 27 this month. So I think, there was a time where you just looked at him as a prospect, and then he lost some time due to injuries, and that's when you start worrying, like, but at 27? I mean, that's when you start coming into your physical prime.
Yeah.
And, he does have the one loss to Darren Elkins, but he was smoking
Elkins.
Darren Elkins up to that point, and it's Darren Elkins.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is Darren Elkins?
Darren pulls everything out at the end.
Bektic's the real deal, man.
He's got a long time ahead of him. I mean, like,
does.
He's got a guy like, who was that? I was just listening to the radio recap with Dustin Poirier, who was, like 38? 35?
Is he that old now?
Maybe not 38. He's mid-30s, I think.
Mid-30s sounds right.
Mid-30s. And you figure, so if he's would you say Mirsad is what?
You're an idiot. He's 29.
Is he?
I was like, you can't be. I was like, he's not his
Now
30s.
Dustin is actually 35. I've just pushed him forward in
Sorry,
time.
Dustin.
maybe it's because all the fights, he feels like he's been around forever.
Jesus, him and Justin Gaethje are both 29. That's amazing.
That's crazy.
Bektic has got plenty of time. How about Gregor Gillespie? Gregor Gillespie is another guy that people need to watch out for. Now you're just throwing off your game.
I am. I'm like,
you're
sorry,
trying to
Dustin.
figure out who was 35?
Dustin. Yeah, I'm like, man, that's what happened when you listen to too many fucking interviews.
It all rolls together.
It all just blends together. Maybe it's because it's all right. Maybe it's because it's Dustin's 35th fight with the UFC.
I was like 35, 30. Who knows?
Gregor's also.
No, Gregor Gillespie. That's another one.
I didn't really know much.
Watch.
I didn't really know much about Gregor before this fight. I mean, I knew of his record and I knew he was a tough dude. Seeing him at the weigh-ins and other stuff, he looked a little underwhelming. He's one of these guys I love that you never quite know that he looked down in the weigh-in. I was like, man, is he shook? Is he just one of these guys that
he's not boisterous?
Doesn't like to look. He doesn't, but he just gets out there and he just does it. But he was, man, he is sharp and he had a good sense of humor. I'm looking forward. I mean, because this is the guy that everybody always talks. He was just wrestling back on his. This. Dude's hands were vicious.
Yep.
I mean, like. That is a dangerous dude. I mean, he's a future champ.
It's hard. See, that's the thing. Like, we're always talking about the UFC not having stars, not having this and that, and I don't know what it is because I mean, the names that we just rattled off. Bobby
and he's
Green,
35.
And he's 35 years old, which is amazing. There's so many 35-year-olds.
They're all 35. He's actually 31, but
he is a little bit older. You're right. He did get a little bit later start. But I mean,
he
look
might
at
as
these
well
guys.
be 35.
Bobby Green, Nico Price, Mirsad, and Mirsad Bektic, Gregor Gillespie, Andre Feely is another one that had a great performance. I mean, controversial win maybe to say over Dennis Bermudez, very, very close fight. But I mean, these are names that I was very intent on following and that I really cared about. And I get it. I understand none of these guys are Chuck Liddell or Tito Ortiz or Vanderlei Silva or whatever. But I don't know. Like, sometimes it's weird that people say the UFC doesn't have stars and there's not talent. But I see so many talented guys and so many of this, like, next level of people that I care about that I don't understand why maybe other people don't care. I mean, I just it bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I think you get a lot of these guys that I don't. Maybe it's because there's so many events, there's so many people that just names come so quickly. They just come so quickly in your face, so hard that it's hard to keep track of just everybody. Like even me when like the fight card that's happening this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've glanced over it twice because there's just so much that,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's stars and there's people that once I look at them, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was great, that's great, and then next week it's already completely out of mind, and it's just
It's
so
true.
blown away that how can you constantly keep, I guess I want them to keep throwing these stars in my face and reminding me of all these great things, but TV time and all the budgets and they can only put so many things, or we'd be watching nonstop promos of each guy. But this is one particular character, especially looking at Gregor, that I was just blown away by the fact that and granted, this is me. I don't live completely in the bubble,
Right.
so I was not fully aware of how bad this dude was,
Yeah. He's the
and
real
then
deal.
after watching him, and I'm sure there's other guys like that too that just like you forget, until you see me like, oh shit, that's right, that's the dude that literally destroys everybody.
See, I wonder if because I'll be honest with you, like Jacare and Derek Brunson. Jacare obviously, proved he's still elite level, right? Like he's not out of the realm of title contention. That was amazing. Derek Brunson is a tough dude. I mean, he's a great guy, and man, I saw his character and the way he handled himself afterwards. I mean, he's all class, right?
Yeah, he didn't
coming back and speaking in the media.
That's the thing. Like, I was surprised. Like, I know the local guys wanted to,
but they can easily say, "Nah, I'm good."
but I'm like, dude took a fucking head kick
Yeah.
knockout. Like, but it didn't look like it.
No.
And I know that even some of the PR guys like. We talked to him right afterwards.
He's okay.
He was completely fine. I'm like, bro, I'm not taking your word
Thanks
on what
for the medical evaluation.
Yeah, I'm
Could you-
like,
could
I
you-
completely. I mean,
could
I
you do
love
my
the
checkup
PR guys,
next week?
but I'm like, I'm not gonna take it. I'm like, at that point, I was like, dude, if he doesn't want to come back, he doesn't
cool.
need to come back. It's
Right.
fine. But the fact that he did, I know he wanted to talk to the local guys, but I'm glad that he did because I mean, it was just like you saw a guy that he was so humble. I mean, granted, everybody, but I guess is kind of humble in defeat, But he wasn't like beforehand. I was a little thrown off by like at the weigh-in, the way that he kind of got in Jacare's face, it just seemed out of character.
A little bit out of character.
Because I was like, "Whoa, Derek!" I
Trying
was
to
like,
put on a show, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, they had a history. Maybe he was like, "Hey, you're not going to big brother me just because,
Yeah,
just
but-
because you owned me before."
but they never really said that throughout the week. I never really felt it, like when they saw each other or when I heard it when I had the interview. I never really got that sense of like,
Right.
because to me, both of them were like. That was like so long ago. We're not even the same people,
Right.
And like everything I got from it was like it wasn't even a rematch. But so when I saw that, I was like, okay, somebody's still carrying a little bit of a grudge, But
So I say all that to say this, that like that's the main event, right? And I guess the focus, if you're Fox, if you're the UFC, it should be on your main event. But is that to me, like, I get more excited about watching the Nico Prices, the Mirsad Bektish, the great, like, I get more excited about seeing that next tier, like who's the people I need to be watching. And I get it, the casual fan, that's not, but maybe that's part of it. The UFC needs to do a better job of telling the stories of that second tier. Like, I mean,
Sure.
I feel like we've read a million. I mean, I think we know Jacare's story right now. We know Derek Brunson's story right now. Like, I feel like maybe that's it. Is that not all of your storytelling and your marketing and your building needs to be only on the main event of that week? Like, maybe like an earlier investment in these guys in their career that you identify. And I know it's hard because you could identify a guy and he could flame out and you're wrong and you just lost a lot of money. But maybe that's the secret is telling these guys stories earlier on, because I do feel like in MMA.
when you say early on, you mean like before the fight night, before the fight happens?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, could there be a pre-fight package on Bektish? Could they have done?
Oh, but you're still saying like it's within fight week, sort of stuff.
Yeah, not and maybe some stuff outside of fight week too. You know what I mean? I get
Right.
it. Like, you can't go all in on somebody that's 1-0 or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just do feel like I do feel like sometimes the everything does move so fast that they're not taking a second to make sure and get these guys love. That's like that second tier of guy that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is going to be your future. Like, I feel like you've got to invest in your own future. And again, and we're going to talk about the Belem fight here in a second. The Belem fight, to me, is the same way. I care about the main event, but there's a lot more undercard fights that I care about even more.
Yeah, and I think they're trying. Well, I think they're trying in some aspects, or at least some elements within the UFC are trying that. Because I know talking with Fiasco, and he was talking about how some discussions they had over there at Pepsi. The Pepsi company is
very involved in UFC operations, which is intriguing. People don't know how stuff works behind the scenes.
But they were talking about how they had some sit downs to try to talk about some of the rising stars, people that they need to focus on, and some of the guys I feel like it's slightly behind because I think they take their cues from the media outlets.
Right.
Because recently they were really sort of getting on like Brian Ortega,
Right.
but I feel like they kind of caught wind after us a little bit,
right?
And not just us, but like media overall.
Yeah.
And part of it was his performance, and part of the other stuff. So
like your latch on after his breakout performance.
Right.
Like, why weren't you? That was like the breakout already happened. Where were you before the breakout?
But I think it's tough too because I think some of them, it would either have to almost come from maybe like Sean Shelby or somebody that has vaster experience with these guys that are upcoming to kind of pass a cue, because there's so much.
But what's wrong with the matchmakers saying, hey, FYI PR department, FYI operations, I'm not saying put all your chips on this guy because this is still fighting, but this is, I mean, because even they say, I mean, I've had off-record conversations where you go, what do you think about that guy? Oh, he's good. What do you think about that guy? Oh, no, he's really good. I mean, they have feelings on guys, too.
And I think that's maybe just one of those things that doesn't happen. I mean, like, I never really heard of that sort of thing happening while I was there. And I think the machine is just, it's such a well-oiled machine that it just keeps rolling. It's constantly trying to book fights, trying to do this, that there's not that downtime where they can say, oh, well, how can we better do what we do? And part of that, I think, would be like, hey, Sean, as these, and then not that just try to put on Sean, or whether it be some element within that sort of thing, passing on the say, because you can't expect everybody in production. They're so running from behind to just do what the very next fight is, and maybe the fight after, that they can't take the time to sit there and research. Oh, let's really look at this card. Let's see who's there, and let's really look, because they don't. Let's see who to push.
Take a guy like Zabit Magomedsharipov. That is not going to be the easiest sell on the planet, right? He's a Russian, but I think everybody in the industry is like, this dude is legit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So somebody's got to figure out a way to tell his story and to start getting his name. I mean, you can't wait till he's 10-0 in the UFC to start trying to get him over, right?
For these guys, maybe. Just for the fact that they're so booked and they just don't have it. They live in such a weird sort of like world, especially with the group that I used to be a part of.
They're running.
They're spread thin, like whether it's just trying to get the stuff together for that particular fight with the different elements that they're doing, the top tens of this, the breakdowns of this. They personally don't have the time just to set, because I could see where that function of just trying to pick upcoming people and then to focus on them and create stuff, that's a full-time gig, just that right there. You'd have to have time to research,
you could almost
let
have
alone
like
go to a place.
PR person, a production person, or two.
Yeah, and then
and
then they could take their cues from the matchmaker or somebody like, hey, this is the guy that's coming right here, or this guy. I mean, I think maybe once they make their first or second fight, and depending on how those fights go, they're already starting to get on the radar a little bit. But for some of these cats that, with just a roster that's nearing 500 fighters,
it's hard.
It's so incredibly hard, especially with whatever 30 some shows, 40 shows. How can you possibly even? There's just no time to really give it probably what it needs.
Yeah.
But if that was the kind of thing, and they said, hey, if there was a wonderful outlet out there that can really do our job for us, and for that we'll gladly give them whatever they want. I mean,
no, I get it.
It's tough. I mean,
to me, I think that's what I think they've got to sell people on these second tier fighters, like the hot rookie, I mean, in every other sport, we know about the kid coming out of college that looks like he's the next real deal, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I just feel like maybe I feel like maybe that's part of the problem, is start telling the story earlier on so that people get into it. Because again, no offense to Jacare and Brunson, two elite level athletes, right? We've done 1,000 interviews with them. What are they going to say new?
Right.
What's going to, you know what I mean? Like, sell me on the next guy down the line, because you never know when that next guy down the line needs to be the guy, and by then it's too late.
Well, I think maybe even by guys like us, or by us, I mean you and people that know what they're talking about, we find these guys quicker. I think if anything else, I'd love it that maybe if we have the time and we spot like these guys before, if we could even, if we're able to reach out, maybe just talk to you, say, hey, we want to reach out to this guy, just open up the door. And if we put something together, fucking pump it out there for us. I mean, they've taken a couple of our videos before, and put on their thing.
Started to do that recently.
I'd love it if we, say if we spotlight the person and we find the thing, we'll do the legwork. And if they're smart enough to understand that these are the stars up and coming, hey, these guys over here have already kind of did the legwork.
Push that stuff.
Let's push it out there.
It doesn't have to be your own content. You can push MMA Junkie. You can push. I'm sure there's other MMA websites
and there's
out
other
there.
I've
never seen them, but I'm sure they're out there.
There might be some other ones.
I don't know them by name.
Which, I mean, I think if anything, if that's how they want to build it, is look at the people that are already out there doing the legwork for it. Because I think that is what I think media's job is great at doing. We're finding these stories that I can't expect the NFL to be able to go out there and find all the greatest upcoming high school football players and the guys in college.
Right.
It's on that particular
school. You need that endemic media, that the ones that are dug in.
The ones that are dug in there that are
the specialists
in the trenches doing it. But if that being said, if they put something together, thank them for it. Pump their shit out. It's good for the outlet, but it also does great for them. And if anything else, maybe by them seeing value in what we're able to do and spotlight these people, it's good for the people. And maybe they'll be like, oh, hey, you have questions, or maybe they'll just say, who do you want to talk to next? Can we can we bring somebody? And maybe they could bring the people to Vegas. I'd love it if they could bring them to PI.
Hey, listen, we think these 3 guys are prospects that we'd really like to talk to and meet more.
Can you bring them
to Vegas so we can interview them and we can do some in-depth features with them?
Yep.
Why are we just giving these ideas away for free?
Nobody. I mean, it's just us and the 10 people and our parents.
Mom, do you think that's a good idea?
Mom, is that a good idea? But I mean,
I agree.
That's how we
like
bring some. Well, I think that's a good idea.
I think we just formulated a pitch. Hopefully, everybody likes to hear us formulating our pitches as we're talking about it.
That's how we do.
I did want to talk real quickly about the Bellator event. It was a smaller event. It wasn't one of their tentpole events. But I will say this: Temecula, California, Pachanga. If you're ever if they're ever having an event out there and you're thinking about going, Pachanga is an incredible casino, man. The facility is phenomenal. They've got some great restaurants there, and boy, our boy Anthony at Ballast Point just hooked it up all week.
I know, I was jealous.
I'm sad for you that you didn't get to make it out there, because we had some phenomenal frosty beverages, some phenomenal food. Ballast Point Brewery, and we were at their Temecula location. He was kind enough to drive up from San Diego. I
was going to say, he's not from around that area. I was like, where is I had to look up where Temecula was.
It's about an hour. He actually lives a little north of San Diego, or at least in the northern part of San Diego, so it's a little shorter drive for him. But man, he was bringing the frosty beverages, and we just we had a phenomenal time. But I just want to give a shout out to Pachanga, because I think that's a cool place. They have a new tower that I was staying in, and it was really good. The event itself, talking about prospects, Tyrell Fortune and Tyree Fortune, the twins on there, both of them moved to 4-0 in their career. Both of them still a little bit raw right now. There's no question about it. Tyrell looks like the more seasoned guy right now. Tyree still has a little bit of growth to do in his game, but they both admit that. They both are early on, but they have an outstanding wrestling base. They're twins, which is cool. They don't necessarily want to be on the same card all the time. They don't necessarily want to feel like their careers are, forever intertwined. I mean, of course, they're going to be mentioned together and marketed together, but they don't feel like they need to fight on the same card all the time that way. But I have to say, man, I will say that's one thing I think Bellator is doing a great job of, is identifying these guys early on and investing in them. Your Aaron Picos, who they spent a lot of money on before he was ever anybody. And now he is somebody. I think that's awesome, man. I think that they're doing a really good job about whether or not Tyrell Fortune is going to be that next Aaron Pico, obviously a heavyweight, maybe a light heavyweight, depending on where he goes in his career. We'll see. But I do have to commend Bellator for doing that. They're taking chances on guys that are early on in their career, 0-0 guys, 1-0 guys, and kind of guiding them the right way, which is the UFC doesn't have that luxury.
Well, I was going to say, but they kind of have to as well. Like, the UFC is definitely cherry-picking some of the best and the finest out there. So I think
they got to get in on the ground floor.
They kind of have to get on the ground floor.
But I like
and you figure half their show is like
local tickets.
So I think they definitely have their finger on the pulse of like the upcoming guys. So I definitely commend them on that. But because you have to, I would think being in a field where there is one particular big name company that's just scooping up everybody,
gorilla in the room,
that you have to go above and beyond, really looking out there and deep diving and finding these guys and scooping them up before they get a chance. So kudos to them. I mean, like what's his name? Rich
Chu.
Chu, like. I mean, they do some. I'm amazed because the people that come out, I'm always like, wow, where did this guy come from? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so good on them, but yeah, they're in a tough area where I could see where everybody's dream has been. I want to make it to the UFC. I want to make it to the UFC, and then to be able to come in there. Well, how about Bellator?
Yep.
And they're like, well, yes.
Well, and they're creating, Aaron Pico, they invested in him early. Like,
Yeah.
they've created brand loyalty with him. Now,
Yeah.
of course, he doesn't, if the UFC came with millions, he'd go to the UFC, but
Yeah.
he's not in that position where it's like, I just can't wait to go to the UFC. He's like, nah, man, they're taking care of me. I kind of like staying with
Yeah.
them, Michael Chandler the same way.
Yeah,
He
I mean,
feel
give
that-
Pico a few more big ones, and I can see him wanting to jump ship because I think that he's going to reach a point too where he might. I think the challenge cats like that want to be able to say that they're fighting the biggest and baddest ones out there, and I think eventually at some point they're probably going to get to where they feel that they're probably outsizing the talent pool
True.
that's over there, and I could see where some of them will want to make that jump over just for that personal challenge, and if the money's right. But I mean, we all know Bellator pays. From what I hear, they pay really, really well
So
for
they're
these
top
cats.
people.
So
They're top people. They pay
So,
well.
I
Another name, Logan Storley, is a name that didn't fight on this card, but it's a guy that they've picked up that I've had a chance to watch fight a couple times. He's 7-0 now. He looks like a beast to watch fight. Listen, last thing on Bellator, Lorenz Larkin finally picking up a win. Good for him, man. You could see the relief. Interesting. We didn't get to talk to him before the fight. He had to attend a funeral. It was a nephew of his that died earlier in January, and so he'd had a couple weeks to deal with it, but he had to go, have this emotional ceremony the week of the fight.
That's
but
tough.
You could tell how relieved he was to win. That was cool. Fernando Gonzalez, who's a talented kid, but missed says he's a welterweight and missed a catchweight weight limit of 180 pounds. Bellator officials behind the scenes were not very happy with him. So we'll see what happens next with Fernando Gonzalez. So anyway, listen, I said I didn't want to spend too much time looking back, but there was a lot going on, and we didn't get to do the and a half. So I appreciate you. And we did some forward-looking things there, too. Now we have to get to this. Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather teasing an MMA fight. They're both talking about it. Floyd's been throwing out these little teaser videos. I got to ask you because I never thought we would be here again. I never thought we would have to sit down on the MMA Road Show and start talking about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. But they're both talking about it again, and they're both talking about MMA. And Floyd Mayweather is at Syndicate MMA right here in Las Vegas taping videos. Is this... do you think this is...
Is that what it was? Syndicate?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what gym that was.
That was Syndicate.
Oh, I do, because I do remember that the mat that's
Yep.
up against the wall. I was trying to figure it.
Are you taking this serious? Are you thinking there's even an ounce of possibility? Even an
That
ounce
those two
of-
fight?
That those two fight.
No.
Right? There's no way.
I mean, I could see Mayweather cherry picking
CM
some
Punk.
particular fighter. CM Punk, I would give him that chance. And that would be awesome to see CM Punk finally be able to work some groundwork on somebody, because I guarantee the work that he's done would overshadow anything that Floyd's going to be able to put in anytime soon. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't even
It
know what
sounds
to.
stupid.
It
Even
sounds so
say it,
ridiculous
right?
because I
It's
could
not
see
even
him
a
if the
fight.
money was enough that Floyd wants to just take a couple punches and then feigned over or just like get taken down on the ground, take some punches and tap out, which would
Right.
be terrible for his reputation. To just take something and then drop down because I think he'd get more grief. But 200 or 300 million would probably make
That's
that
the thing.
really, really
It would
easy.
sell.
And
And to me, it would be the dumbest fight ever. Like, the boxing match
Yeah.
was kind of dumb, but you're like, all right, well, at least it's an MMA fighter in his prime versus an older boxer.
Right.
We're limiting the skill set, all that. And now you take an older, smaller boxer who, by the way, has really tiny hands and in 4-ounce gloves would probably break them very quickly.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even make sense. Like, it's not even a fight. But I'm telling you what, man. And I was talking to my wife about this last night. She was like, do you know how many people would be willing to pay money that just hate Floyd Mayweather, that would just want to see him get his head knocked off, that would give anything to... And it's like, as
I guarantee
crazy as that sounds,
And it's true.
it's true.
They
There are
would.
people that would literally tune in just to see Floyd Mayweather's public execution.
I just don't see him putting his whole heart into it to where like going 100% like he would in a fight. Like in the fight with Conor, he knew that that Conor was going to gas himself out. Conor's going to come wail on me for 3 rounds, then he's going to start getting tired. Those gloves are going to get heavy, and then I'm going to be able to go. he doesn't have that luxury in this particular sport, and I just don't see him having the heart or the. Not, let me finish that. Not saying that he doesn't have the heart, but just putting so much effort that he's not going to want to go in there and take the knocks and the punishment
His
that
whole
he
life
can
has
take
been the undefeated
without
Floyd
tapping,
Mayweather. Right.
and just taking the easy way out. He's not going to get knocked to the ground, turtle up a little bit in the hopes that, okay, how do I get back on my feet? How am I going to weather this? You know, am I going to escape to the right? Am I going to turn? How do I get back on my feet? I can see him if he gets knocked down saying, okay, all right, let me grab my side. I'm tap. All right, I'm done. I took his shot, you know.
I don't think there's I mean, listen, I didn't think they were going to box either. So
right, and that's the ridiculous
So you can't
thing.
say no. You can't say no, but it seems stupid to me. I will say this. So Conor was in New York for a charity function, and a couple of reporters, you know, found him on the street, got a couple minutes with him. It was on YouTube, and I thought Conor did a couple of good things. If he is trying to at least hold out hope that it happens.
Yeah.
Which, hey, look, if you can cash another $100 million,
that's
right. So he said this. The first thing he said, listen, I would respect Floyd if he did it. Like I did it. I stepped over to his realm, and I would respect him for doing it. And he said this. He said if he's serious, you know, he's posting these videos. If he's serious, he needs to do it, or he's going to get hounded by it forever. Like people are going to just bother him about it forever. And I thought that was good. I felt like, you know, trying to intimidate Floyd, trying to you know, say like, hey, I would bully you. You can't, you know, like, I don't think that's the way you do it. I don't like you trying to pretend like you're the bigger man, the better man. I don't think that's going to do it because Floyd's going to flash his money. He's going to flash the checks. He's going, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to play that. But I think Conor was trying to appeal to like his sense of pride in a different way, you know, and just saying like, listen, you don't want that doubt lingering over you. You don't want to have to deal with this forever. You know, I did it. If you do it, people will respect you. And I think they would. I mean, listen, if Floyd Mayweather was willing to step in the cage, I would have all the respect in the world for him because I see absolutely no way in hell he has a chance of winning. So I don't know. I thought that was good on Conor's part, you know, versus trying to sell it in another way, like plant those seeds of doubt, plant those seeds of maybe an opportunity. But at the end of the day, here's what I think, Kokavi. I think this is just – I think Floyd wants to get involved in the MMA business. I think Floyd – wants to keep his name relevant. Maybe he can help be a part of this Zuffa boxing thing that's going to happen sometime soon. Maybe he feels like he can represent fighters or something. I heard Kevin Lee the other day was on Brendan Shaw's podcast. He was saying that sometimes he feels like black fighters aren't marketed correctly. Maybe, you know, Floyd Mayweather feels like, you know, he could help market the African-American fighters a little bit better. I don't know. I feel like there's options there that he is seeing that, listen, man, MMA is something that I still want to keep dabbling in somehow. But I think at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather has zero intention of fighting.
And does it even need to just be Conor? I mean, what if he just wants to come over and just fight MMA?
You think Conor lets him come over and doesn't get that payday?
I know, but that's the thing. I mean, like, if he said that he could maybe I remember him sort of saying like, oh, I might even fight MMA someday or something. I don't ever really remember him say, I'll fight you in MMA.
Right.
He just said he would fight MMA.
Conor would go crazy.
Well, Conor go crazy, but then Conor would be begging it, and then Floyd would get what he wanted. He'd get Conor begging for him to take the fight, and that's half the stuff is, you know, you got Conor over saying, beg me. Conor or Floyd would just be rolling it in so much happiness if Conor was like begging him. Because I could see
Floyd's like, listen, I want to come over and I want to fight Demetrius Johnson.
I could see Floyd cherry picking a fight for sure. I could see him. Do I see Conor ever fight? Do I see Floyd ever trying to get in there and fight Conor? As I don't want to say never because we've seen that bullshit and crazy stuff happens. Right. It would just be an absolute shit show. So I won't say it because the amount of money that he can make. But even without Conor, Floyd making an MMA fight on his own easily could earn $100 million for himself.
Easy.
He doesn't need Conor for that. So I could see Floyd cherry picking and picking whoever. I mean, CM Punk. Some other just.
I know that's ridiculous, but that's the fight to make.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, but there's just. I mean, I think there's other guys too that would probably step up, just to say it. You know, BJ Penn, you know, just some random name.
An older guy.
That you know.
It's actually not a bad idea.
I could just see it, but I don't see Conor having to be in this equation to make it
It's
happen.
not a fight if it's
and
Conor.
I think
It's not even
even
close.
close.
It's not even entertaining.
I mean, Floyd's smart enough to know, because I think his reputation would take a big hit. Because let's be real, he gets in there and he starts fighting Conor. Conor literally would demolish him, and Floyd's going to want to tap in the first probably minute, and he understands that if he does, he will never live that down.
Never.
200 million in the bank will make that very, very easy. Shit, for $1 million or whatever, let Rampage beat the shit out of me in a fight. That's for $1 million. Imagine what embarrassment that you could take for $100 million, $200 million. Let me ramp it up. $10 million, Rampage.
Like, man, maybe if we
I'm
put
like,
a fight
I got a lot
together.
of bills I got to pay right now, and the medical part. But I could see him possibly fighting. He's going to build it up. And but he's probably right now what he's doing is gauging public interest in the
Right.
fact of whether he would possibly fight. But there's no need for Conor to even be in that equation for that to still sell easily.
You're right
Probably
about that.
$100 million. You know, if you figure if the pay-per-view is 50,
That's interesting
is
because
50 or 60.
in boxing, Floyd needed Conor to sell 100 million, to sell 200 million. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if he comes over to MMA, he sells by himself because everybody just goes, "Holy
it would
shit!"
be it would be a
it's Floyd
pay-per-view,
Mayweather.
and so they would put some other, probably a title fight or two. They could probably get a pay-per-view that they need to boost. They'd be like, DJ, we're going to give you that one that you've been waiting for. You know, stick like DJ versus. I mean, I don't know. Is DJ and TJ even on? Is that
It's supposed to happen.
you know like that? They're like, how long can we push this back? They're like, Floyd, how soon can you be ready? We need to have DJ TJ be the co-main and be Floyd versus either BJ Penn or who would we say?
CM Punk.
CM Punk as the main event. We got to throw some women's fights in there. Let's see who else. Who has
That'd be
fought in a while?
strong right there. Though.
That is super strong.
That's all you need.
But I mean, this is the pay per view. They're gonna try to boost it up a little bit since Floyd will be on it, so they're gonna raise it to $69.99 on this particular one. So they say if it's roughly $60 and they need 100 million, so you know at $1 million, so you need, let's say if they can get 4 million, 5 million buys, so that's what 300 million. If he takes 100 million off the top, and then it's doable. It is doable, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But when I don't think of Conor, when I immediately take Conor out of the equation,
it becomes more palatable.
it becomes completely reasonable that we'll see Floyd Mayweather in an MMA fight.
I hadn't even thought about that.
when
I
when
just
you-
assumed if he's in, he's gonna fight Conor.
I immediately, like, even when I heard him say it, like even traveling around for that whole Maymac week, you know, when Floyd was talking about it, I never saw it in my mind as, all right, we'll fight me here, and then I'll go fight you there. It was more of like, I can do MMA. MMA ain't so bad.
Yeah.
You know, I can do that. Watch, maybe someday I'll fight in MMA.
I like BJ
you know?
Penn. I like BJ Penn. I like CM Punk, to be honest, but CM Punk's bigger. So I mean, there's
I would love to see, because I'd like to see CM get a win, and I think but that's the thing. He would have to take some serious punching. That would be a tough fight for him. He would. The only part that would really work for him is the fact that he's been working on ground. Like, I mean, even though Mickey pieced him up, Mickey is really good on the ground. But CM put up a valiant effort
yeah.
to stop it. And
I like CM Punk, man. He's a good
so
dude.
do I, and I think
I know some
this
people
would be a
dog
fun
on him,
one.
but I like
But
him.
just to think, to get all the WWE people that still like CM Punk, to get those cats coming over, wanting to put some of their money
Plus
into
the
it,
boxing people.
plus all the boxing people want to get it, and then just the diehard MMA guys that are like, what the hell is going on here? And then to see something like, if you did have like a DJ TJ on there,
Oh.
that's a legit super fight right there. That's wailing, and
that
then
would
just
be amazing.
and
You
then
have,
just
like,
a couple other ones,
DJ and TJ is which is a phenomenal fight that's
Right.
not going to sell well.
right?
Versus, and then the co-main is a fight that's going to sell well. That's not a phenomenal fight. You know
Right.
what I mean? But it would balance everything out.
Right.
The yin and the yang of
telling
competition
you.
versus sales.
And that easily would probably, I mean, and then because that's the kind of fight, especially with the Mayweather, that would do some international sales as well.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
it wouldn't just be like the domestic, like TJ and DJ, as good as that is, that's not going to do that well internationally. I don't think.
No.
I mean, that's a domestic. Those are
That's not
domestic
even going to
guys.
do well domestically. All of us will be going crazy because it's an
Right.
incredible fight, but it's just not going to sell well.
Yeah, but dude, it's doable. I could see Floyd fighting in MMA. I just don't see him plausibly fighting Conor unless he wants to just ramp it up and go crazy. Because he could easily make $100 million without him. He can make $300 million with Conor.
That's crazy.
But I mean, that would be crazy if that's the only fucking way we can see Conor back in MMA is if he's waiting to fucking fight Floyd.
It's stupid.
It's ridiculous.
All right, let's talk about another boxer. We did something we did get to do this week that was kind of fun. We got to go see Roy Jones Jr. at the Performance Institute. How
that
crazy was that, right?
He was still in there. I was like, it's funny. I was like,
he could talk the game. He still got passion. He could still talk the game.
It was amazing. And it's funny. This is the guy, like, for me, he was like one of those heyday boxers that was just so amazing. Like, I've never been the craziest, biggest boxing fan. I mean, right. I loved it when Tyson and Holyfield back in the heyday, when Sugar Ray Leonard and all those cats were just destroying. I loved it. Even Oscar De La Hoya when he was still doing his thing. I mean, I loved those guys. Roy Jones Jr. was one of these cats that was just when he was one of the first guys I remember. Even that whole pound for pound phrase, where I even paid attention when people were like, "Oh, he's the pound for pound baddest guy." He was the guy that I remember first hearing that term sort of being applied to,
right?
And that at least that I paid attention to.
Yep.
To see him, still doing it. I had no idea the guy was still out really even sort of fighting and doing all these deals,
It's been a year, but it's been a year since he's fought, but still,
like this is a cat that I thought was done boxing 20 years ago.
49 years old.
Yeah. I thought this cat was done like
in way better shape than my 39-year-old ass is. That's for sure. He was, it took him a little while to get going. He started out a little slow. I was like, uh-oh. This is not going to look good. But then once he kind of warmed up a little bit and got loose, because he did a workout for us and then he did a scrum. And I guess for those, I think everybody probably knows by now, but just in case you don't know, his retirement fight is next Thursday, February the 8th, and it's going to stream live on UFC Fight Pass. It'll be the first boxing match ever on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be a mixed card. There's going to be boxing matches and MMA fights on there. But it's basically centered around, of course, Roy Jones Jr. fighting a guy named Scott Sigmund, I believe is the guy's name, who is 30-11. 30-11-1 actually is a 30-year-old guy. I'm guessing Roy Jones Jr. handpicked him as somebody he believes he can beat.
That's boxing, man.
Yeah, that's what you do, right?
That's what you do.
You set it up for your showcases, but he did. He came in and worked out at the Performance Institute. The media turnout was pretty solid for it. And, again, it took him a little while to get going. It was a little rough at first. At first, I thought, oh, my God, this is not good. But once he loosened up and warmed up a little bit, you could still see the moves in there. And once he got done and just stood in front of a microphone, man, you could tell he still loves the fight game.
Still talks the talk, that's for sure.
Still can sell it. And let's just do this. We've been talking for a while. Let's let somebody else talk. We've got the audio from Roy Jones Jr. This is what he had to say to us at the UFC Performance Institute.
Well, I was just going to say, it was kind of a surprise announcement for all of us. For you to be fighting again, and then not only do that, but to fight on UFC Fight Pass. Can you just talk about how this whole thing came together?
Well, I can say this for any kids, anybody that's watching. This is a true story, a true testament. When they say you reap what you sow, that's a very true statement, because back in '94 when I was on the tour to fight James Toney, a kid came up to me and said, could he go down to the arcade and play games with me on the press tour? And I'm finna fight the baddest man I ever fought in my life. You know who that kid was? Dana White. So now I'm at the end of my career, and he's thriving in his career. Look who came back to give me something I never thought I'd see. A fight, my last fight on UFC Fight Pass. No boxer has fought on UFC Fight Pass yet. So when they tell you, you reap what you sow, be careful what you sow, because you will reap that. And you should sow good seeds, therefore you reap good seeds. I never saw this coming, but that's a true statement of you reap what you sow. I took him in, we hung out, we played games, we did our thing. I didn't even really remember him at the time. He came to me later on and said, you remember that kid you hung out with during that press tour? Because I don't do things to remember it, I do things because that's who I am. You understand me? So when I do a good deed, I don't write that down in my memory that I did that for you. I don't care. You know who knows I did that? You and God knows. That's all that matters to me. But he remembered. So he came back, and look what he's doing for me right now.
Pretty amazing to be here today and look at, you've seen MMA come up from nothing, and now you're here in this, multi-million-dollar facility.
You never know what God has in store for him. I never knew at that time and he actually was talking to my people back then about them trying to get involved. Just that I wasn't the talk guy. They were, and I couldn't really make the decision because they was doing it. It was their money. They was doing their thing, and I know that they hate now that they didn't do like I did and pull him in, because look what he has grown us into. So.
Roy Anderson Silva used to throw out your name quite often. I wonder how interested were you in that at the time, and how close did that ever come to happening?
Well, man, to be honest with you, I was so interested because I knew that just like the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight turned to be one of the best events of all time, I knew that the Roy Jones Jr. Anderson Silva event would have been one of the best events of all time. So when you talk boxing, it's one thing. When you talk MMA fighting, it's another thing. But when you talk events, it's a whole nother light. And so many people from that world, because they know that he idolized and watched my boxing moves, he even used them sometime when he fought. And he was one of the most superior guys that they've had in the UFC. So if he learned from this other superior guy that was in boxing, and he used to box himself anyway, then why would you put them in the ring together just to see what happens? Because it's still something that people want to see. You watch it right now, right?
Absolutely.
I definitely would watch it right now. If I wasn't even Roy Jones, I still want to watch it. Because I want to see how good he is at pulling off Roy's tricks, and could he use Roy's tricks against him. Yet I also want to see what Roy come up with different and new, because he's copying all Roy's old stuff. You got to come up with something different, because the stuff you normally do, he knows it. So it's not going to work on him. So it's more of an event than a boxing match. And the events always outweigh boxing matches. You understand me? It's like back in the days, the Super Bowl is good, the NBA All-Star game was good. I mean, NBA championship, the finals is good. If we have an epic game, we got a good game. But when we play the All-Star game, you got the best of the best. We all want to see how that happens. How they will merge on the court. How will this guy and this guy play together? How will that guy and that guy stop this guy? It's stuff we can't dream of. That makes it an event. That's what makes it so fun and so big. So now it's kind of taking the fun out of it, because they don't go as hard as they used to back then. But back then, we got to see a dream once a year. We got to see sometime Larry and Dr. J play together against some other people when we used to see them butt heads. You understand me? So that's what events do. And so an event like that will probably still pull me out of retirement.
Did that fight come close, or why didn't it happen?
Dana's the man with that. He had other plans usually for Anderson when I was trying to make it happen. So when you have a plan, when a guy draws out like this whole compound, this was something that he planned to do. When a guy has a plan, it's kind of hard to change the plan, because he already got a plan drawn out. So most of the time when I asked him about the fight, he already had a plan or something that he was working on trying to do. Now, don't get it wrong, sometimes different things, different attributes play a factor in those plans, and you don't get to do it the way you want to do it or where you want to do it. So sometimes the things that he had planned did not mature, but it was never a time that when they did mature, we could go and make our fight happen, because usually when he said he had plans, I went on and did something else.
Is that still a fight that interests you?
Of course it is, because like I just said, it's not a fight, it's an event. Events always interest me. And because we was trying to do it before they did it. So of course it's an event. It's a huge event that interests both of us.
So you would come out of retirement for that fight?
Of course I would. Why not? And I would get in top shape and be ready to win it, because I'm not planning on losing nothing. The only thing I want to lose is weight. That's it.
Has Dana brought that up?
We really haven't had a chance to talk about it yet, as of late. We was trying to put this together first, because he is trying to get into boxing, and putting UFC Fight Pass at Roy Jones on UFC Fight Pass in a boxing match was a big step toward getting him into the boxing arena. So that's what we've been talking about first. But quite naturally, I'm sure that will come up, because I know Anderson still wants it. And if he wants it, of course, I still want it, because, like I said, it's not a boxing match per se. It's an event.
What do you think of Dana White getting into boxing?
I think it's a brilliant idea, because he has a lot of things that he's learned from the UFC by doing things his own way. Brought the UFC to a spot where boxing never has gotten to yet. You understand me? So it's like with those different ways of looking at it, you bring new blood, new ideas to a game, you're gonna make that game go up even more. So I look forward to him coming to boxing, because I think with that, we can take boxing and take it up even another level.
You think he'll pull some of the UFC fans over?
Of course he will, because like I said, even with these events like this, that pulls some UFC fans over already because of the event. So now if you can help this side get better and this side get better, you're gonna have an even big event at the top when you do decide to put an event together. So why would he not?
You have your own promotion company. Do you see yourself working with them in some of your events?
Of course. That's why we're doing it now. That's what my whole goal is, to put us together so we can work better. You feel me? It's like everything I do is always to help people come together and work better. You know, it's like people say, you got Russian citizenship. Well, yeah, I got Russian citizenship because they offered it, and they're very nice people, and it's like 90% of the population knows Roy Jones Jr. as a fighter. So why would we start at a lower level of trying to make us come together as people and realize that relationships, being together as people, are more important than warring with people, because if we go to war, we all lose people. We lose loved ones. Why should we war when we don't have to? Why can't we talk? And we're humans. We have the best means, the most means of communication, yet we had the hardest time communicating. Why? You feel me? That's crazy. So if you got him who's trying to get into boxing, me who's a superior boxer with an already promotional company, and I do MMA and boxing, then why wouldn't we come together and make it better for both of us? It'd be crazy not to.
Well, you think boxing's ready for that? For the longest time, it's been boxing versus mixed martial arts. It hasn't been the two communities kind of working together. I know you promoted cards, but do you think the community as a whole, as a boxing community, is ready to start embracing MMA?
That's a good question, and let me give you a good answer for that question, okay? When you see two guys come together and make over $100 million, you think it's good for each other?
Yes.
Okay. Easy answer, right?
Yep.
You'd be a fool if you didn't support UFC and boxing, because look what y'all can do together. Huh? Conor McGregor made more money than most fighters that fight have made in one night, and he's not a boxer, he's a UFC guy. Why wouldn't you want to come together with UFC, because they can make that happen for you? Why wouldn't you bring the two together?
How much of this event is Zuffa Boxing and how much is your promotion?
It's probably 50-50. You know, we doing my promotion too, but of course we want to help Zuffa Boxing get their feet wet and get into it the right way. So anything we can do to help Zuffa Boxing come on board and go quick, we're gonna try to do. So it's 50-50 to me.
What's the hardest thing, mentally or physically preparing for a fight at your age?
Physically. Mentally, I ain't. Listen, let me just explain something to people. People always worry about my mental capacity and how I'm gonna be. I was crazy when I started boxing. Can't mess a crazy guy up. He already crazy, right? So mentally, I ain't never had a problem getting ready to beat somebody's child up. That's just what I did for a living always. You put your child out there, I'm gonna whoop him. That's what I was programmed to do when I got here. That's not a problem. Physically, it's very hard for that body to hold up at 49 to what it used to hold up to at 29. So the physical part is the hardest part, because you have to keep your body healthy in all the preparation and all the things you do to get ready for a fight. That's a long process, which takes a lot of dedication and hard work, but your body has to be able to withstand that hard work or you won't succeed.
Roy, it's obviously still got passion, so how hard is it to say this is it, man? You can tell the love is still there.
Man, the love is there, but you know, it's like they said, the heart is with him, but the body can't take it too much more. You feel me? So the heart is with him, but the body ain't able. So, you know, you just got to know that. And keep that in the back of your mind.
Did you ever see yourself at this age fighting when you started?
Well, like I told you, I never saw myself at this age fighting, but I also never saw myself as fighting for a heavyweight title. So it's a lot of things that God put on my plate that I didn't expect to see. I never saw myself fighting on UFC Fight Pass. Duh. I never saw none of this coming. So who am I to plan? So if I can't see what's coming for myself, how can I let somebody else tell me what I should do? You know, people say, oh, you should quit. You should. How y'all know? If I had quit when they said I should quit, I wouldn't be here right now today fighting the first boxing match on UFC Fight Pass, right? So you don't listen to people, you let God guide you. Let them people say what they want. They knew so much, they'd be doing it instead of you. Mm-hmm.
So Roy Jones Jr. going to be boxing. Kind of wild when this thing got announced. By the way, I did hear that this thing happened completely like Roy Jones Jr. and Dana White. Like, this didn't even involve anybody else at the office. Like, they got this thing pretty much done on their own. I think it's pretty cool. You know, we still know, I guess UFC officials were very, or more importantly, Fight Pass involved UFC officials were very quick to say, listen, this is not Zuffa boxing. You know, don't let it be confused. This is not that Zuffa boxing thing.
It's 50% Zuffa boxing, if you ask me.
But yeah, but it's interesting, man. I like the idea. I like the concept. I'm interested to see what kind of response they get out of it, and I'm interested in just kind of watching the fight and seeing the mixed card. I'll definitely be tuning in. I guess that'll be one bright side of us not being in Perth, is that we'll be able to tune in and watch this. But I'm planning on watching it.
Yeah, no, I'll watch it. I just thinking of that interview and just the story of, you know, it was this kid that came up and he was like, you know, you want to play some games at the arcade? Dana's 48. He's 1 year less than Roy. I'm like,
just like a little.
are you sure? Are you sure this
You
is
know
the
what's
same
funny
story,
is
Roy?
I was going to reach out to Dana and find out how truthful that was, and I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do? It's not like I'm going to report it or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
Roy
no.
Jones Jr. full of shit.
Oh
you
my
know what
God!
I mean?
Like my BS meter was just going off when he was just saying. I was like, so I imagine like this young Dana coming up, tugging on his pants leg. It's,
So true.
Mister, there's this new Tron game out. Do you want to come play it?
It was pretty funny. That story was kind of interesting. I'm like, I think some of the details got mixed up here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Roy.
what do you think about? I mean, listen,
he
he
took
said
he took some headshots.
that's fair. That's fair. He said, listen, this is a retirement fight unless the Anderson Silva fight can happen. I'll be honest. Again, that's probably something I'd watch.
How long is he willing to wait?
Well,
how long is he willing to wait for Anderson?
That's the thing is Anderson news coming out today. It's not looking good for Anderson. It's looking like he may very well be facing 4 years of a short suspension. Yeah, I don't. Do we want to see a 53-year-old Roy Jones come out and fight him? Probably.
Not that we want to, but I'm sure
But
Roy's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, just for the fact that at that point, then you kind of want to just see how Anderson would look at that point, coming out. I mean, that's a long time away. That's
a long time.
That sucks. It
does suck because you know what? Like, all right.
Super bummed for him.
Okay, because a lot of people consider him to be the greatest of all time, right? Now, John Jones has an argument as well of being the greatest of all time, but he's facing drug suspensions now. So, who's the greatest of all time? Do we just go back to George St. Pierre? Is it George St. Pierre? Is it Michael Bisping? I mean, who
That's
is
why
it?
I almost just like, man.
I guess it's George, right? Or is it Demetrius Johnson? Is Demetrius Johnson the greatest of all time?
Yeah, it's almost like with so much crap goes on, and it's like it's such a of the moment sort of phrase. I almost just hate even using. I'm like, can we just like
not
just
even have to answer
retire the greatest of all time? Because I mean, it just everything changes. Because if we look at a guy, and now especially like Anderson, he's tarnished so much of his legacy because of some of the stuff recently towards the end of his days, that it's like it's hard to not think about that when you think about all of the great things that he did. Because I hate to, because what he's doing now, it's not like it changes how completely dominant and amazing that he was.
Right.
But it's so I hate to put like this asterisk on like, oh, greatest of all time, that's still active, that's not under suspension, that hasn't molested anyone recently, that
Yeah, I'm with you.
And it sucks that we kind of have to go through this whole thing, when I come, so I guess when I still think of that phrase, I still look back on the heyday, and I can't take that away from Anderson that he wasn't the most dominant. I almost like think we have to kind of just timepiece these things and say, all right, for this era, who was the most dominant?
Right.
Who was the greatest of this? Instead of saying greatest of all time, because we say all time, but then we immediately start thinking.
I mean, how do you?
What has he done lately?
Hoist Gracie doesn't even come close to being in that discussion because
right. But there was a period.
There was a period of time where he was the greatest.
There was a period where he was the greatest. So maybe instead of just change all to A. Greatest of a time.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva
greatest of a time. I like
greatest
that.
of a time.
He's the GOAT.
He was the GOAT.
Of 1992.
Of 1992. Like you can still call him the GOAT.
I love that.
But it's just
greatest of a time.
It's hard to put blinders on to the stuff that's happening, and unfortunately we are fickle creatures where we tend to remember. But look at judges. You could have a great third round and they completely forget the dominance that you did in the first two rounds, and we see fights go the wrong way.
Right.
That's just human nature. The memories and history seems to rewrite itself by what happened sooner.
Recency bias, it's believed.
Yes, and that's it. I mean, it's hard to not say that Anderson isn't the greatest of a time. And it's hard to not say that Demetrius right now is not the greatest of this time, but I can't call him the GOAT.
Yeah.
But he is the greatest of a time right now.
I like it.
But, yeah. So people feel free to use that. Greatest of a time.
Greatest of a time. I'm all over that. All right, let's talk about UFC Fight Night 125, Machida versus Anders. By the way, should we... Eric Anders, ya boy, or as you like to call it...
Yeah, boy! Do I need to send money to Flavor Flav?
Yeah, I do think that is great. Yeah, boy, I that would be funny if I'm mistaken. Listen,
Maybe John
I'm
Anderson
hearing a
would say
lot
it.
of people hating on Eric Anders' nickname, "Ya Boy." I kind of like it. Holla at your boy. It's your boy Eric Anders. I mean,
Does he
it's
say
your
like "holla at your boy"?
I mean,
I see.
I've
I
never
get
heard
it
him
when you
deliver.
say it. I get it when you say it. Then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, it sounds better like that.
like, who is that?
Yeah,
That's your boy Eric
That's
Anders.
your boy, you know. But I read it,
I mean,
and
if
all
you
I
say
hear is
Eric, your boy Anders, like that
Eric.
sounds stupid.
Yeah, boy.
Now that
Anders.
sounds good. Yeah. See, there's options. I don't hate your boy as much as it seems like other people do.
You know of Diane Word, the group Diane Word?
I don't
It's got
think
this
so.
this one I forget what her name is, but she does. I hear her voice in my head. I might have to find some audio, but she's like a real high pitch. Yeah, boy. That could also be the version, but
All right.
we'll stick with Flavor Flav.
Let's talk about Lyoto Machida versus Eric Anders now that we've totally devolved into nickname discussion. Listen, gotta say, Eric Anders called out Lyoto Machida after his last win. He was only 2-0 in the UFC at the time. I always wonder when somebody calls somebody that specifically that far up the list, they've got to have a pretty significant motivation in mind. They've got to have an idea. Either that or somebody told him, hey, by the way, Lyoto Machida really needs an opponent. So if you want to call out his name, we'll probably slip you in there, which that does happen behind the scenes a little bit as well. But I am really intrigued by this fight. It's kind of interesting. And again, maybe it has to do with that new blood. I heard a lot of people saying, Lyoto Machida versus Michael Bisping. And I got to say, like, that fight wouldn't have intrigued me as much. I mean, it would have been good. It would have been two big names, but I kind of like this crossroads, right? Like Lyoto Machida, is he that guy? Is he not that guy? Eric Anders, is he that guy? Is he not that guy? Is Lyoto still the guy we thought he was? And is Eric Anders the guy that we think he can be? And I like it. And Eric's got to travel down to Belém, Brazil, which is the hometown of Lyoto Machida. Hasn't lived there in forever, so it's not like it's his neighborhood, but it is where he was born and raised, I believe, or at least was born. But Eric Anders, I don't know if it's his fiance, but his girlfriend, I think, is Brazilian, so he spent a lot of time down in Brazil. I don't know, a lot of cool storyline. Yeah, so he's more familiar with it. He actually went down there over the holidays, so it's not like he's having to make the journey. And Machida's gonna have to make the same journey he is. There's travel as well. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by this fight. I actually lean towards Eric Anders. I do feel like Lyoto Machida everything is so much based on timing and counter punching and striking that I think. What do they say? As you get old, the power stays, but the speed, the fast twitch, that starts to fade. And certainly Machida, a guy that's taking care of himself, but is getting up there in his career. He's not one of these young 35-year-olds that seem to be out there like Dustin Poirier.
So many of them.
But no,
many.
I like this fight. I like this fight, but I'm leaning towards Eric Anders.
Yeah. Did you say that you thought Machida was from Belém?
Yeah.
So the UFC website shows him from Salvador, which is a 4.5, almost a 5-hour flight from Belém.
Well, what the fuck do I know then?
Well, I don't know. He is 35 though. He's not 35.
I believe he was born. But see, now's where we need Fernando Proches to sign in and tell us.
See, that's the biggest. That's another miss that we're gonna
the
miss.
Road Show's not getting that.
Is the Road Show's not gonna get old Fernanda next week? So that's a
Garbage.
Or this week.
It's actually this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shows how in tune you are with the schedule. No, I don't know, but so this fight, are you
down under?
Are you
We're not down under for this week?
Are you? I guess that since now we're not on the road as much, we'll just have to bring back more of your phone calls.
No, USA Today, get us on the road.
That's something we haven't done enough of in a long time. We have so much access to fighters, we don't have to make up our access to fighters anymore. We'll just have to go back to making it up. Like we'll do some extensive conversations. I don't know. You like this fight? Some people I saw some people head scratching, but again, I like it. I like the stakes that are here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good one. I mean, I don't, didn't follow Eric Anders' career too closely, but I mean, this is like his third fight in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. To get Machida on a third fight is
pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
We're talking about an all-time great.
Yeah, and I mean, he is 10-0, so good for him on that, but to be, on your third fight, to be headlining a card in foreign territory against a, living legend in Machida, that's putting a lot of faith behind this guy. So good on him that the UFC feels that confident to give him that nod. But no, I'm all about it. I mean, this could also be one of those fights that, I think a lot of people are seeing Eric come in and he looks like the bigger guy. He looks like more dangerous. He looks more impressive. But this is the kind of fight that Machida very well could pull out, and everybody's like, oh, that's why he's Machida.
That's right.
Everybody.
That's it.
People just doubt him, and then he pull that
Yep.
karate magic out, and he drops him with the crazy question mark kick or something.
If Eric Anderson rushes in or gets careless, the heat of the moment, the crazy Brazilian crowd. I mean, if it gets to him, that possibility's certainly there.
And this is Daniel. This is on 3 losses, Lyoto. I mean, this is. You hate to think that that you're gonna have a headliner and then cut him afterwards, kind of thing. But there's very well the possibility this might be one of the last times that we see Lyoto Machida.
Tell me Bellator would be all over Machida if he was free.
Would definitely. They would scoop him up. But that's the kind of thing he would do decent in Bellator. And if anything else, could probably get a resurgence of his career. He doesn't wear it like you would think. But I mean, he's 39 years old. I mean, he's not a young cat by any means. But he also, he has taken some knockouts. He has taken losses. I mean, his last 2 losses were by KOs, TKOs, and he got submitted before that. He ended up getting a win. A submission loss. Well, he's taken some KOs.
He has, and the thing that scares me a little bit too, and another reason why I lean towards Anders a little bit too, is Lyoto had pretty much come out and said that he didn't really want to fight on this card. He didn't want to turn around that quick. He had the knockout loss to Brunson, but they wanted a Brazilian, and the UFC kind of made him the offer he couldn't refuse. And so I think he initially said he wanted a little bit more rest than this.
Yeah, 3 months.
It's kind of that Michael Bisping, obviously not 3 weeks later or whatever, but it is that quick turnaround when a guy says, "Yeah, I want some time off," and you talk him into fighting anyway because appreciate that, but we really need you.
I guarantee they gave him a bump. I guarantee they gave him a nice big old bump.
Might have came with a new contract. Might have came with at least a
especially
one-time bonus.
And he's on the he is not with 3 losses, and as much as he's done for the sport in his history of being a champion and then losing it. Maybe it did carry weight at one point, but this is a guy, in all essence, is at the end of his career. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really have the bargaining power that he used to. And this is probably his one shot by doing a favor to able to get that last bit of money that he's probably going to get from the UFC.
Maybe
so it sucks.
Maybe a no-cut guarantee.
Or with a guarantee, like, I'll take this on a short notice. I want to bump and pay, but I also want a guaranteed two or 3 more fights. With the possibility, they're not going to get rid of him. He's in that position, especially if he's going to save it, because who else are you going to put on on this card in the last minute? The fact that especially like that Anderson's out of the picture, a lot of these Brazil stars are not ready to go right now.
Right now.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it's tough. It would be sad to see him lose again quickly, especially if it's via a KO or something, knowing that this might be his last one. So maybe it wouldn't, but you hate to see somebody that's taken knockouts get so quickly back in there and then take it again. So I hope whatever they agreed upon was enough for him to take that risk. But this I can definitely see that this being a fight where Lyoto's going to come as prepared as he can, and with that much time, it's just a matter of healing. He's always in shape. He's going to come in. He's going to come prepared.
He's a lifelong martial artist.
So hopefully it's just a matter of he does what he can to take least damage. But I could see this being one of those ones where he just pulls out the magic that we know that he's all capable of.
Every fighter on that rise has that one moment. Probably the only guy that hasn't is John Jones. But they had that one moment where they get to a level and you go, oops, you came up short there. But hey, that was a learning lesson for you. You'll be back. You'll continue to rise. And I think maybe this is that moment for Anders. Maybe it's not. Maybe he's that legit. But maybe this is that moment where it's like, oh, you got caught by some crafty veteran there who threw in some.
And that would be no shame on his end. That's the kind of thing that could happen. He's so early, especially in his career with the UFC, and a loss to Lyoto Machida would be nothing to be ashamed about. And his overall career would take no real damage from it. This isn't a contender shot. This isn't, if anything else, this is Lyoto is 13th. Let's see what they got Eric at. Is he even ranked in the top 15? He's not even ranked.
Yeah.
This is the kind of fight that, if with a win, would definitely get him in the top 15. I don't think you can't jump over a 13, probably not being ranked, even though you did beat the 13th. I
Right.
would definitely maybe
14, 15, something
14,
like that.
15 at least, bringing him in. But it's the kind of fight, if he doesn't win, he's already not ranked,
So
but
he
he
just
lost to Lyoto Machida.
sticks around right
he's
behind
still
that.
right behind it, and this is the kind of thing that you forget. That's like losing in a college season. If you lose at the beginning of the season, you could still make it to the playoffs at the end.
Yep.
As long as you just, ready the ship, and just kind of shore up the little things that mistake, had. So it's kind of a win-win for Anders in
I
that
agree.
situation. He can't really lose in this. The only person that can really lose is Machida, and hopefully that wouldn't be via a KO, which could, cause further damage and end his career sooner than he would. But I don't know. The more I talk to myself about how I think this is a fight that Machida can pull some out, I kind of wish I kind of went the underdog route and
Go with Machida?
kind of went with Machida. But I kind of rode the hype and rode the 10-0 train and kind of followed a lot of the others. But you never know. I like to pull for the underdogs, and this is kind of one of those ones that it would be
Hard
cool
not
to
cheer
see,
for Lyoto Machida, right?
especially in Brazil.
Yeah.
Like Brazilians have taken some loss. There was a point where it seemed like Brazilians could do no wrong, man. They were just
Yeah.
dominating everybody, and then the sport kind of caught up to them in terms of jiu-jitsu, and now other aspects have kind of passed them up. So it's great to see one of those cats still fighting the good fight. So it'd be good. It'd be good for Brazil. It'd be good for Lyoto to get the win and kind of put some more of that magic back into what we see for fights that happen down there. So
No doubt. Co-main event, John Dodson versus Pedro Munoz. I think this could be the best fight of the card. It may have, I don't say necessarily the most stakes as well, but I mean, these are two recognizable names. John Dodson, a guy that's been around for a while, that's challenged for a championship in the flyweight division. Now he's competing at bantamweight. Pedro Munoz, a guy that has certainly, had the prospect tag around him for a long time, but finally seems to be, really putting everything together at this point. I'm stoked for this fight, man. I think this is a really tough fight. I had a tough time choosing between these two. I ended up going Pedro Munoz. I feel like John Dodson, as good as he is he is a small guy, and I think he's maybe better suited for flyweight, but he's certainly dangerous. I mean, the speed and the quickness that he brings, the creativity, the scrambling is amazing. But Pedro Munoz, the bigger, stronger guy, I think probably a better submission game as well. Does have the comfort of fighting in Brazil, though I believe he lives in LA, so I think they're both going to have to be traveling down anyway. But he will have that crowd behind him that's certainly going to motivate him fighting in his native country. But I really do like this fight a lot. I sided with Pedro Munoz, but I got to say I would not be betting my mortgage payment on it.
yeah, this is gonna be a good fight. I did lean toward Dodson. The more I watch it, Pedro is so dangerous, and he has a lot of power too. Dodson, I think he's still, even though, at 33, almost 35, like all the other fighters in the UFC, he's still got the power, but it is, I can see where it is waning, and in a size group where maybe he's not as strong as some of the other ones. I still see him. His speed is still something really to be wary of. I think a lot of
definitely.
people, even though where he is a bit undersized, he hasn't seemed to slow down in that aspect.
No.
He's got
He's as
cardio
fast as anybody in the division.
as fast as anybody
in the entire sport.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got cardio for days. I mean, I think he's got a way of eluding the punches, and if he can stay on his feet and if he can stay mobile, kind of work in and out, work them punches, drop some bombs, evade the power of Pedro, I think he can do. I think he's going to do it. I think he can do some decent damage. He's just got to be able to, stay on his feet. If he keeps the fight on his feet and he stays moving, I'm going to give the edge to him. If he gets down to the ground, Pedro's dangerous, but Dodson also has a way of getting up once guys get him on the ground. He's kind of like DJ in that sense, like you get him down, but you never really can keep him down for too long. If Pedro does get him down and he's able to wear him down, and Dodson somehow is a bit tighter, more tired and not able to pop up, then I can see where Pedro will get the edge. But I still feel that the Magician's going to work a little bit of magic in this one.
It's a good fight, man. It's a good
When I
fight.
look at this card, it's crazy when fights go down to Brazil. Brazilians just do so well. They win, win, win. And we've been there countless of times that every English speaker and every American has lost on it. I'm looking at this card, and granted, I'm not going to claim everybody has Americans, but when I look at the English speakers and the Americans down the line, this could be a card where Brazil gets mopped up.
It is.
I mean, think about it. If Anders takes the fight with Machida,
Right.
if Dodson beats Munoz, if Shevchenko comes down there and does what she can do, which we pretty much assume is going to happen. If Green is able to do it, if Timothy Johnson is able to come down there and work magic against Gollum, I keep saying Gollum every time I see him, I'm like Gollum.
Anthony Smith against Maheta.
Smith has a chance down there. Tim
has
Means
a chance against Mariah.
I'm telling you, dude, it is quite possible. I mean, Vera's down there. Sota's got his hands full. That's going to be a really, really tough battle for Joe Soto. But honestly, looking down the line, I mean, like, English speakers can come down there. I don't want to just say Americans, but this could be one of those cards where it would suck because Brazil would probably be like, don't fucking come back, because they're so prideful down there. But I could see this could be a bad night for Brazil.
And they usually do stack the fight with Brazilians.
They
in Brazil.
always do, and Brazil always shows up. And
I didn't realize
win.
this is Brazil against another country in every single fight on the card.
Yeah,
every single fight on the card.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, because there's usually at least one or two where it's Brazil, versus Brazil,
or you'll have a random matchup between two foreigners where everybody goes, "What the hell are you guys doing fighting in Brazil?" And people go, "I don't know."
What if Brazil got skunked the whole night?
Crazy.
There's going to be,
12 fights.
I like Soto, but I
fights.
don't think Soto's going to take Alcantara. If I had to pick one for sure, that was probably going to go Brazil's route. That would probably be the one that I would lean towards.
Right.
But dude, it's a tough night for Brazil, man. What's amazing is that they always seem to pull it out, and there's never a crowd. I mean, I think when you go and you have a fight in like Ireland and in London, those places, the town erupts when they're fighters.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bad thing out here in America. We don't go crazy when Americans win like we should. I think as a whole, as a sport, I think we embrace everybody. We like the Brazilians. We like the Americans. We like this, and we tend to cheer for the winners, but we never cheer like you get when they win in these other countries.
You hear MMA fighters say it, and I think sometimes fans get mad because it sounds like they're dogging on the fans. But you've heard American fans say it a lot. Like, I wish our fans got behind us the way they do in other countries.
Yeah.
And I think people get mad because it's kind of like, well, why, you're hating on me? But it's just true. The other countries get behind their own fighters, and I don't know if it's maybe just because we have, Americans have so many fighters on the roster. It's hard to be like, well, we can't cheer for every one of them. You know what I mean? But it is true, man. The other countries stand behind their fighters way better.
Well, and I just don't think we hate the foreign fighters. I think we appreciate the foreign fighters as much as our own. But I guess, and I hate to think that I'd say, oh well, we have to hate this guy because he's fighting American.
I hate the stupid USA chants.
Yeah,
I hate those. But yeah, you could at least boo the guy, right? You could at least just cheer and boo,
or at least just cheer for pick a side at least at some point. It's one thing to clap and other stuff, but I think there's times when
it's like you don't respect the Iron Sheik as a competitor and welcome him in, right?
Yeah, hell no, not when it's the Iron Sheik. Hell no.
No, you got.
But I mean, it would be good if we could find ways that if the fans would replicate that a little bit more, because I think that's probably one of the greatest things you see in these fighters. It means so much to them. Like seeing the joy and especially like what these wins mean in Brazil. Brazil's like definitely one of these countries that we've been lucky enough to see a lot of these fight. But when you see these guys pull out these victories and the way the crowd embraces them and the way that these fighters are kind of just swept up in the moment, that pride, that country being behind them, that I feel bad that a lot of American fighters don't have that moment. Granted, most of the times they're fighting other Americans, so it doesn't happen, but I think maybe in these instances where if, a Brazilian's coming into town or whatever, and I'm not trying to just pick on, let's just against the Brazilians, but anytime somebody from another country comes into America and you fight, I'd love to see if the local fans just root for the local guy, even if you completely respect. I'm not saying, swear obscenities at the other guys.
The respect just for a second.
Yeah,
for
just for a moment.
And then afterwards you clap.
And then you clap afterwards. I mean, you clap when both guys, and you could even clap when, clap at the weigh-ins, enjoy both the things. But when it's fight night, give that moment to the local guy. And then afterwards, then you can go back to doing whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like, the environment here could be a little bit better in that instance.
We need our own little Uwe Morers, right?
Yeah.
We need something.
Yeah, just say you're going to die in English and embrace it.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, but come up with like a fun way of
yeah.
chanting it or something. Maybe put it to a fun tune.
Yes, we can do better than "Whoomp, there it is." We can definitely do.
Yeah, don't do it to that one.
Come up with something.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that, but
We'll figure something.
I don't know. But
By the way, I looked up and down the card real quick. 6 underdogs, 6 favorites for Brazil.
For the Brazilians?
So it's a 50-50 split. So as it stands right now, they're at level ground.
it could be a tough night for Brazil.
We'll see. All right, listen. Since we don't have a lot of behind-the-scenes stories this week or anything like that, I just want to say, Shevchenko, yes, Priscilla Cachoeira has an amazing backstory, and good for her for stepping in and taking this challenge. But I think Shevchenko definitely wins here. But I will say this. Desmond Green, Michelle Praceres could be a little bit of a slow fight. Marcelo Gom versus Timothy Johnson. We'll
Do you know
see.
what cachoeira means in Portuguese?
I heard this the other day, and I can't remember. It is coconut? No, it's something.
Waterfall.
Waterfall. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I heard that the other day. Marcelo Gom versus Timothy Johnson. Heavyweights there. Gom looks like the real deal. He does look like a real Brazilian prospect.
Yeah,
we'll
for
see.
sure.
But Timothy Johnson's certainly going to be a big test. Marreta Santos, Anthony Smith, 2 hard-hitting, big middleweights. Still have a lot of fun. But I will say, I like the preliminary card here. Tim Means, Sergio Moraes, Tamir Hadjovic, Alan Patrick, Douglas de Andrade versus Marlon Vera, and Yuri Alcantara versus Joe Soto. I like this. I know it's not star-studded, but as far as just stylistic matchups and fun fights, I think the prelims, I think this is one you might want to tune in early. I think the main card might have a couple of stagnant fights, but I think the prelims are going to be good, and I'm definitely looking forward to Devson Figueiredo versus Joseph Morales, 2 undefeated flyweights. I love the flyweight division. I don't care if people say it's marketable or not. And then Maya Stevenson.
I was just
going to
say the start of the night, like, dude. I was like,
I'm bummed that we can't be down there interviewing her because she is amazing.
She would carry the interview trophy for the week. She is outstanding.
Firecracker.
And come on, UFC, get your shit together and put a picture of her on her profile on the UFC. Like, I'm looking at the fight card thing, and it's just got those 2 silhouettes.
Yes. By now, they have both shot their pictures. It is Thursday night. It's Thursday night.
Taped a whole TV series for you guys. Like, get your shit together and put her profile picture.
True. Even if it's in a tough outfit,
it could be a tough outfit. I mean, they did photos. Just you could take the thing. Like, it's like, come on. She was on a show for your fucking promotion. Like, put a picture. Like,
it is true.
It's ridiculous.
It's
and
just
at this
those
point,
little details.
At this point, I mean, the fight is days away.
48 hours at this point.
Days away, and you don't have a profile picture. Little things like that used to drive me crazy on the site. Even Cachoeira doesn't have a profile picture.
Which by now, she's in the 3rd fight of the night. Bro, by now you have shot photos with her. She's been in Brazil since Tuesday.
Yeah, update your shit. If you guys don't have it updated, we're going to put you on blast. We're going to put you on blast tomorrow if you don't get this shit together. I know you're listening to this. Like, well, I don't want to piss out too many people because then they'll be like,
we're just saying, these are little details.
These are little details that show that you care about the upcoming people. I mean, like, this is, come on. Like, but yeah, I got distracted, but Maya is awesome.
Yeah.
Holy cow, she was like one of my favorite people that
She's
we
amazing.
interviewed from that tough season.
She's phenomenal. I wish we could be down there to interview her because she is.
To see her, and I can only to be a fly on the wall and watch her and Joe Daddy have like a little family argument between the two because they're 2 people that are just amazing that I think would be hilarious.
They've got personality. They're reality show material. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, well, listen. Tomorrow, I should just say this. I mean, we're doing this like we always do. We sit down Thursday night recording it. Tomorrow will be a tough media day. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited about this season of The Ultimate Fighter. I know people hate The Ultimate Fighter, and I'm cool with that. Of course, the matchup that we're getting between the coaches is amazing. Cormier and Stipe fighting for the heavyweight title is phenomenal. But that's not the reason I'm excited. I'm actually really excited for some of the names that are on there. Bryce Mitchell, who I'm a big fan of his. Doug Nasty. Kyler Phillips, who looked amazing at the open workout, or not the open workouts, the open tryouts that we were at. He made it on there. Suman Mokhtarian is on there as well. I'm really excited about the fellas. And did you see Karate Delani Perry made it on there?
Did he really?
Karate Delani Perry, who, if you have not seen this video, go search the Tough 27 tryouts, and the man came dressed in a jumpsuit with, I believe he had a gold chain on. Yeah, he had a gold chain, right? And he had girls
He had
with
the
him,
girls.
dude.
Now I finally got my reminder.
He
from
brought
Costello.
the girls with him to just accompany him around. Karate Delani Perry made it onto the show. I'm actually really excited about the show, so we will have that all covered. Of course, the main thing that everybody wants to see is Stipe and Daniel Cormier. I actually put in a specific request to the UFC. I said, can you please make sure you do a face-off with the coaches? So hopefully we'll have a face-off with the coaches tomorrow that we can bring you so you can see those two guys side by side for the first time. And then, of course, we will have all the fighters that will roll that out probably closer to the start of the I imagine we'll just bank that and roll it out closer to the start of the show. So
yeah, because we got all that other stuff from Bellum that we're gonna have to be processing.
we'll get over it, we promise.
No, we won't.
Eventually.
Sometime.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.